Witch Enforcer is still bad. When I first picked up this manga, I was bored to death by the glacial pacing, boring art, milquetoast characters, and lack of stakes. And it still has those flaws, but it's gotten a bit of direction over the last few months, so this all usually happens when Axcon rears its ugly head. What's wrong with Witch Enforcer, a fantasy manga about witches from the moon migrating to Earth to live in plain sight amongst humans? Well, let's start with what isn't working. The art. There is so much blank space in this manga. Does the mangaka just not draw big? This was immediately noticeable in chapter 7. Look at how much empty there is. I think Shun Akagi is a capable artist. Perhaps they're just out of their element on this sort of series. Fantasy needs to be whimsical, interesting. This world, it isn't engaging at all. It's barren with no relatable identifiers to keep me invested. Every room is boring, every store is basic, every building is bland. This genre is not their lane. There's even a very long flashback sequence in chapter 10 explaining Nine's backstory some more. And they shrink their panels even smaller this time around. No experimentation, no being cheeky with framing, it's just darkness. What's the point of making the witches from space if you'll add no cosmic elements to their upbringing? I would like to see Akagi do a human drama instead of a magic combat series. They can draw appealing women sitting around talking while snacking and drinking tea. And pretty much nothing else. Death flags are obvious tells. Characters introduced just to take out Nine? Please. And of course, they get snuffed in the same chapter that they're introduced. Not that that's unusual for shonen manga, it's just how rapidly and anticlimactic it was. Things keep happening off screen in this manga. I think the mangaka isn't confident in their ability to draw action scenes. Characters get killed off screen, they dodge explosions off screen, they escape their captors, and the only explanation the reader gets is a "somehow I escaped." Oh, fucking come on, that's so lazy. Whether you're getting axed or not, this is supposed to be an action manga, right? So put some action in there. There's no excuse for such a pivotal moment in the plot to be so boring. Oh, but yo, Nine's background is pretty fucked. It's supposed to be tragic, right? Instead, it's just dull like everything else in this manga. I never found Nine to be threatening to begin with, and I don't really empathize with her mommy issues. You can tell Akagi favors this character, so I expect to see more from them as the series closes out. I often see these sorts of aborted, subverted plot elements in manga that enters their final stage when getting cancelled, which is why I think these revelations have been happening so quickly. Nine's defeat being boiled down to a simple beat the evil out of them trope is telltale for one last hurrah from the real evil in the coming weeks before we finally end this mess. Hell, I won't even be surprised if Natalia's reasoning for wanting to hold off from snuffing out Nine on the spot, instead wanting to hold a trial for her. I'm sure that's not just her character, but also an excuse to have everything wrapped up in a sort of trial/committee sort of trope, which is something that a lot of modern shonens have been doing when they're about to get cancelled. It gives the mangaka an opportunity to lay out some of their ideas with things that they wanted to do in future chapters, or flesh out some stuff from the past chapters that they didn't really get the opportunity to. You don't see it often in Shonen Jump Plus manga. I guess it's just something a lot of shonen mangaka have been adopting recently. So, what do I like about Witch Enforcer? I guess I like the color pages for every chapter. Akagi is a capable mangaka, and the art itself doesn't offend, it just doesn't take any risk in a series that could greatly benefit from some creativity or imagination. I like Natalia more now than when the manga started, but when you have an emotionally reserved lead like her, the supporting cast needs to be very energetic in order to keep things from getting slow and boring. None of the other characters really show off vibrant traits, so it ultimately brings down Natalia whenever she's on screen. Ellie is soy, but they could have had a great character arc wrapped up had the series put real stakes on him using his eye. His curse being easily eradicated after being a threatening plot device for the first 10 chapters was a letdown. This story had potential, but it should have been a dark fantasy or a political something along those lines. Right now, it's a bit of everything: sci-fi, fantasy, battle shonen, action, and it's not really good at any of those. Witch Enforcer is not a bad manga, but not one I would recommend either. I want to see how the mangaka can wrap this up though. I think there's some potential for a good ending, even an elongated ending, if they bring in a lot of cool spells and a uniquely designed villain, perhaps another magical person that isn't a witch or cursed by one. So, I don't know. Maybe wait till it's finished before giving it a shot? 3 out of 10.